Lunch.
You are looking live.
Live at lunch. Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
What the hell's going on out here?
Now, here's Jimmy Ott and Charles Hannegriff.
For some reason or another, you sound a little taller on radio.
Is it live? Is it live? Is it live?
From Mike Anderson Seafood, Wesley at Nicholson, welcome to the Tuesday edition Live at Lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Charles Hannegriff along with Jimmy Ott. Jordan Kitchen's back in the studio. Andy Isco with us here in about 30 minutes. We do first class, second class, no class today. Got a little bit of everything there. We got some NFL draft stuff, some LSU stuff, got some other college football stuff when we get to that in hour number 2. NBA playoffs, NFL draft. Beautiful day here at Mike Anderson's. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Much better with the NBA playoffs last night. I mean, much better than we had over the weekend, Charlie.
It's a good
one
game,
thing is, though, which one of the reasons they play better up? It's a better brand of basketball.
Well, they play defense for one thing.
Well, that's the first thing. That's the first.
Yeah.
Well, the intensity is.
Yeah.
That is. I mean, I think the intensity might be even more so than the regular season. It's just. I mean, you watch a college game, especially like in a tournament or late in the season, and you put on an NBA game. Like, is this the same sport? It's almost a different sport. And man, both places were really electric. And the $1 million question is, do we have a postseason that's going to produce a little bit more? Everybody that covers the NBA was like, man, this is what it's all about. You know, that New York and Denver were on fire. But as I said yesterday, these were the two most competitive games of the 8 first, game ones on Saturday and Sunday. And there were some bad ones. Is there more to come? But last night, and, Charles Barkley was in the studio, and I was like, how does a guy miss so many games and still perform at this high level?
Well, they'll tell you that it's because he missed that many games that he performed at high of a level and that he's got something left.
What Charles is saying, no, this defies the percentages. You cannot stay sharp like this. I mean, this was of all that he has accomplished.
We're talking about Kawhi Leonard.
What's that?
We're talking about Kawhi Leonard, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
All that he has accomplished in the postseason, this was one of his best.
He was unstoppable last night. He showed you why he is still, when he's healthy, which is the caveat, one of the top 10 players in the world. And he has done it at playoff time. He's done it with 2 different teams. He's been a finals MVP twice. He was sent to L.A. to deliver the Clippers a trip to the finals, and the whole pairing with Paul George, it could just, Pelicans-esque, it could just never get everybody on the floor at the same time. But when he plays and he is healthy, and I did catch his post-game comments, he says, I'm finally healthy. And he sat out the first 2 months of the season, but he has played regular significant minutes since January. He only played 37 games in the regular season, but most of his misses were October, November, December. From January, he's pretty much played. He's had a game off here and there, but he has increased his minutes. He averaged 32 minutes a game in the regular season. He's had over 40 in the last 3 games. The last 2 games of the regular season. I'm sorry, 4 games. Last 2 games of the regular season plus this. His shooting, he's one of those guys that can get his shot from just about anywhere. And when he is right, he's still one of the best basketball players in the world. The frustrating thing for the Clippers has been how much time he has missed. But last night he put on a show. There ain't no doubt.
It was a headache for the new age analytics where three-pointers are bust. And that's the great thing about this. So they attack the rim so much more. Who was it? I forget what game it was where, it was just attacking the rim left and right. But he mid-range. And Charlie, these are some 15, 17-foot guys in his face. And, he's got those long arms. It's helped him so much defensively that he could just get his shot off. And it was almost automatic. It was 11 for 12 from mid-range. Mm-hmm. He was 4 of 8 from 3. he was 3 of 7 on most, but then he had that one he had to shoot at the end of the third quarter.
Yeah.
It was a buzzer beater that he knocked down as well. But 79%, 15 of 19 from the field overall, is the second highest field goal percentage in a 35-point or more point playoff game in Clippers franchise history. I don't know where it ranks with all of his accomplishments, but it was one of it. It's not Toronto upsetting Milwaukee in the in the Eastern Conference Finals when I think Milwaukee had a 2-0 lead in that series maybe, and then they won 4 in a row. Nick Nurse, but then they beat they beat the Lakers. Kobe got hurt. I forget what game that was, but still, they were underdogs in that one as well. MVP of the series, I think they beat the Heat. When he got the MVP. I know they lost to the Heat in 7.
Yeah, well, what I remember is when they beat the Warriors, for the title. But you're talking about the lead up to that, and I'm trying to remember who they beat.
I'm sorry, the Warriors. I said the Lakers.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but Klay Thompson
got hurt.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah. But he was Charlie. It was unbelievable, and they needed every bit of it.
Well,
to survive.
Of all the offensive plays he made, one of the biggest plays he makes is on a defensive end with about 90 seconds to go, 80 seconds to go. He gets the steal on Joker, and they got a 3-point lead at that point. This is a huge possession, and there he is making a defensive play.
Joker, another triple-double, but I think 7 turnovers. Last night, I believe it was.
He was frustrated. You could tell he was really. Even the numbers were good. It was 7 turnovers. He was frustrated.
Porter Jr. and they even showed him because Westbrook hit a couple of corner threes, and it was a great thing about it. So Jamal Murray, they're playing a 2-man game with Joker and Jamal Murray all night, and Murray has a little bit of a lane to the left side, his offhand, and goes in and shoots a kind of a running layup, a running shot, contested shot, and the defender on Westbrook was kind of like he didn't help. Mm-hmm. Well, he helped the next 2 times. They anticipated it, and guess what Westbrook does? Boom, boom, knocks down back-to-back threes to put him back in it. Then he misses some free throws, but it just had a little bit of everything, Charlie. It was just you had an all-time great who was just great, and he's been frustrated. And this is where, man, does he act like a diva? Does he like me?
No.
Maybe the structure of the league, it's guaranteed money regardless, but he's had 2 years, and this was one of them, where he missed a chunk of games, basically the whole season, 1 year. But I don't know, man. It's just when you're not able to shoot. Who got an assist last night?
Westbrook?
Ben Simmons.
Ben Simmons.
it had a little bit of everything. They had to give Divac some rest. They tried to put Ben Simmons on Joker, and he just bullied him a couple of times. But it was interesting to see him. He had about a little open 7-footer where they ran away with him. He passed it, by the way.
Well, of course.
Yes.
Of course he did.
But this is where this series should be. It's even, Steven. These are 2 50-50 games. Could have gone either way.
This was supposed to be that. The favorite changed from the time the matchup was set to the time they tipped off the first game. The favorite changed in that. And I couldn't help but think, watching Kawhi Leonard healthy last night, this was what the Pelicans always wanted Brandon Ingram to become. He's
not capable of what Kawhi
No,
Leonard
he's
is.
not.
Now, shooting he is, but not a two-way.
He had a lot of the physical attributes. He's not as thick as Leonard is. But Leonard, when he has played in big moments, has come up big, and Ingram most of the time did not.
The Phoenix series, they lost in 6. They got game 2, and then they lost game 3. They won game 4, and then lost games 5 and 6. That series, the game 2. Yeah. Ingram was
there were times where you saw him with this expanded offensive game, and he physically he looks a lot like Leonard. They're about the same. They're about the same size. Leonard's a lot thicker at this point in his career. I'm talking about.
Leonard's
Ingram's
way more physical.
Well, he's 7 years older than him, too.
Well, no, but Charles always has been. In college, he was a double-double machine before he developed his skills. That's why he was drafted a little bit later.
He's a much better player.
He's way more of a guy on the glass.
That's what I'm saying. This is what they wanted Ingram to become. that he never
on the
really
offensive end.
Yeah.
Well, that particular night, he hit a lot of mid-range jumpers with guys all in his face.
Sometimes he did that.
All in his face, but not. You can't have more of an opposite on the defensive side.
No, he's nowhere.
Defensive and rebounding.
That part of his game never came. The other part, I think you subscribe to this theory as I do, that the NBA playoffs are a step-by-step proposition, and most of the time, you don't. There's no cutting in line. You have to lose before you can win most of the times.
Experience. You see a lot of veterans who kind of mediocre during the regular season, a lot more valuable in the postseason.
Yeah. So
yes.
the Pistons on Saturday went to the fourth quarter with an 8-point lead and got the doors blown off of them in the fourth quarter. Last night went to the fourth quarter with an 8-point lead and hung on and kept the Knicks at bay. If I were a Detroit fan, which I could, take or leave the Pistons, doesn't matter to me, I would say, hey, there's progress, okay? And I don't expect that the Pistons will win this series, okay? I understand that the odds have shifted back because they won a road game here, but I think the Knicks will probably eventually win this series. But that's the progress. That's the progress I always hoped that, the Pelicans would make off of that Phoenix series. Okay, you went in there and you competed with a much better roster for 6 games. Can you take the next step the next year? And, of course, the answer was no. If I were the Pistons, hierarchy, I'd say, hey, you know what, over just 2 days, we grew up a little bit. Enough to win a series? Probably not. But we grew up a little bit in the fourth quarter, on the road, in the playoffs. By the way, it broke the longest winless streak in NBA history.
That's amazing.
I mean, they certainly mentioned it enough times. Going back to 2008, they had lost 15 straight playoff games. And, well, they snapped that streak last night. Good fourth quarter for them.
Well, the difference between those two games is that was the biggest lead that Detroit had in Game 1, was the 8-point lead entering the fourth quarter. This time they had a 15-point lead toward the end, the middle latter part of the third quarter, where it was the collapse had begun, and they tied it up, and it was one of the veterans, the playoff veterans, that hit the big three, and Schroeder. Has played a bunch of games with the Hawks and some other teams in the playoffs. Tim Hardaway Jr. is trying to provide them. They do have a little bit of this playoff experience, and they just hit a big shot, just like I think it was Powell who hit the big three for the Clippers. That was the difference maker with all of Kawhi Leonard. Here was Schroeder, and they just Charlie. This is if the actual game time. The Knicks have led for maybe of the 48, 96 minutes, maybe 20.
Yeah, it's not a lot. They
so
trailed.
I mean, this is a team of the Pistons that shot 7 of 26 from 3-point range and won on the road, and were in major position to win on the road in Game 1. So Karl Anthony Towns seems to be a little bit of a matchup problem.
He didn't get a shot in the fourth quarter.
Did not shoot.
Did not get a shot in the fourth quarter. I can't tell you exactly why, okay? All I know is a guy who averages 25 points a game doesn't get a shot in the fourth quarter of a playoff game that you lose at home. I'd be looking at the film going, wait a minute, how come he didn't get a shot? Not one shot in the fourth quarter.
I mean, that's... And if he's not giving you anything offensively, he ain't giving you a whole lot defensively. That's for doggone sure. So the thing about it was, Isaiah Stewart was not available for them. He had given Cat some matchup issues in the first game, but he was out for this game, and he still disappeared. Now listen, Charlie, they went ISO to Brunson. Okay, and he had his 37. He was getting a lot of calls.
Tibbs didn't think so.
Did you see the flaw in Tibbs' comments?
Yeah, they get this. One of them had 12 free throws, and the other one had 11. He was talking about Brunson's free throws versus Cunningham's free throws. He's
basically a wash.
Yeah, it's almost exactly the same. One of them had 11, and one of them had 12. Now, the Pistons did have 15 more as a team free throw attempts, but when he talked about, he says, Brunson's not getting the calls that Cunningham is getting. Well, they shot basically the same amount of free throws. That was a poor way to make his point, because they did have you don't see a 15 free throw differential to the road team in the playoffs. Usually, you see that towards the home team if you're going to see a differential like that.
The Knicks and Pistons, how many fouls are called on each team?
Well, if there were 15, I'm not looking at it. If there were 15 more free throws for the Pistons than the Knicks, I would say that there were probably, 8 to 10 more fouls.
21 apiece, exactly the same.
Okay. Well,
and the Knicks intentionally fouled twice in the last 10 seconds.
Okay,
so they called in non-garbage time or non-extenuating circumstance time, they called more fouls on the Pistons than they did the Knicks.
Yeah. And
a little flawed.
Yeah, his reasoning was not great.
It's usually not his style. He's pissed because they're not playing well.
Yeah.
He's pissed because this is a team with no playoff experience, history. They got a couple of pieces, like Schroeder and Tobias Harris has played. He played a lot of playoff games with the Sixers as well, Hardaway Jr. But no problem, Knicks. You don't see any cause for concern. Being outplayed for 2 games,
I'm
lucky, very fortunate to be 1-1 right now.
Absolutely.
Okay, because you kind of discounted it, like
no.
The Knicks are still going to win.
I think the Knicks are going to win the series. I think that they will right themselves, and that playoff experience will come out.
I think it's even money right now.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I think it's pretty much a pick 'em.
Yeah, the Pistons have won a road game. I wouldn't be surprised if they were favored.
When did we go to 7 games in this first round?
About 6-7 years ago. So it's a lot of a lot of basketball. It's a lot of basketball.
Yes, but great stuff last night, and we needed it. And we'll just have to see if it's going to be zigzags. Both 2-0 unders. They play more defense. Even the overtime game in Game 1, the Denver Nuggets and Clippers, it went under with an extra 5 minutes. 8-2 to the under so far. So one of the angles when you talk about the difference, I talk about the first game of the NFL playoffs, first game of the NCAA basketball tournament, and this as
Knicks are still a favorite at -250, Pistons +200. I thought it'd be
-250 in a series.
Yeah, in the series. That's surprising to me. I thought it would be a little bit shorter than that.
What did I look at? I gotta read.
Wow. You may see some fluctuation. That's a Bet Rivers line. You may see some fluctuations in the market.
Hey, man, I had EJ and some friends in town this weekend for the holiday weekend. And where did we come over here to celebrate? Came over to Mike Anderson's. They're out of town. One's from Florida, one's from Nebraska. Wanted to show them, get them some etouffee, some gumbo, some crawfish, some char-grilled oysters, a little bit of all that right here at Mike Anderson. So, I mean, it is when Randy McKay was in town, where did we come? We came over here to Mike Anderson's. I think he 8 for 3 that night as well.
Yeah.
So, but he still talks about it. So that's what you do, man. You come over here, and so, well, the crawfish have been really good over here. The char-grilled oysters are the best. Big cloves of garlic, fresh garlic in there, and the service is always spot on over here at Mike Anderson. So we're here for Tuesday. Don't forget, every Tuesday night, 5 to 9 p.m. here at Anderson's. It is half off. The oysters on the half shell over here at Anderson's. We're doing also the char grilled as well, but and drink specials also every Tuesday night here at Mike Anderson's.
Come on, check out Shane's new Bushwhacker machine.
Yes, that's got your name on it.
Live at Mike Anderson's, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Ott and Yanni from Mike Anderson Seafood on Lee Drive on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
We're also brought to you by Coastal Capital Advisors, your full-service financial planners when it comes to retirement. No two situations are alike. Let Coastal Capital Advisors tailor a plan for your family's needs, no matter your age or your financial situation. Bottom line is Coastal Capital Advisors will work with you. They'll build a lifetime relationship. They'll get to know you, get to know your situation, and they'll tailor that plan for you and your family. And I know because that's exactly what they've done for me. For more information, contact Philip Fontenot and his great staff, 337-981-1376. Online, it's coastalcapitaladv.com. Advisory services provided by New Age Advisors member FINRA, SIPC. LSU with their third to last midweek game of the season. We're getting down to the end here. LSU play Northwestern tonight, 6:30. at the box. Northwestern 24-17 coming in. LSU has not lost a midweek game yet this season. The Tigers RPI holding at number 6. That is 6 SEC teams up at the top of the RPIs, and another 2 in the top 12. So 8 of the top 12 are right there, and it's going to be a real battle down the stretch to see where those the top 8 national seeds land in the Southeastern Conference. But LSU is in perfect shape right now to get one of those things. Northwestern 15-9 in the Southland Conference. They won a couple against Lamar and Will Davis last weekend in Natchitoches. I think the big thing for tonight's game will be how they chop the pitching up. You saw some of the guys that have pitched in the midweek games pitch in the games this past weekend, guys like William Schmidt and Jaden Newt, who've taken a bigger bulk of some of the midweek stuff. Both of them pitched in the game on Saturday, so they're both eligible tonight. But I would think that rather than letting one of them go for a long period of time, that Jay Johnson would probably chop this up a little bit finer, maybe 5, 6, even 7 guys tonight. A little work from Maverick Rizzi, I would think, for Schmidt, for Newt, and everybody else kind of gets an inning here and there. Leading up to the big weekend series with Tennessee, the last 2 national champions. And, of course, Tony Vitello, one of the more colorful coaches in college sports. Been a pretty spirited rivalry between these two, dating back really dating back to the last year that Paul Maneri was the coach, and Tennessee swept LSU and then knocked them out in the postseason as well.
Usually see this a little bit more out of a coach when they're trying to scrap, they're a little under resourced and things like that. That's not the case anymore, and he's still right there.
Yeah,
he's still gamesmanship beyond belief. So yeah, I mean he will do something this weekend to get the fans involved, no question.
And, Tennessee came out of House of Fire. They were 8-1 to open conference play. They have lost 2 of their last 3 series, including, I was surprised.
1 at home to A&M.
They lost 2 of 3 at home to A&M, but an even bigger surprise was that not just that they lost to Kentucky this past weekend. Jimmy, when you think about this Tennessee team under Tony Vitello, especially at home, what do you think about the big offense, right?
In their park, especially.
In their park, for sure. They scored 3 runs against Kentucky's 2 and 3 starters this past weekend. That really surprised me that they didn't hit the ball better than that.
Little hangover? Championship hangover here?
Well, but they didn't have it at the beginning of the season. They won 8 of their first 9 in the league. So typically that's more at the beginning of the season. So I'm not sure about that. Maybe a little bit, but I just think the bats went cold this past weekend.
I think it has to do with your roster as well. I mean, we're trying to. I mean, it's hard to repeat, Charlie, especially a team that's
no doubt
doesn't have a whole lot of practice doing it. And they've never won one before.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of that, a little bit of the bats going cold. It was a home series squeezed in, sandwiched in between at Ole Miss and at LSU, and I expect it to be high intensity.
Without a doubt.
This weekend at the
hot
Bucks.
too.
Yeah,
it'll be warm. Unseasonably warm.
Yeah. Maybe the ball will be hopping a little bit this weekend. LSU Northwestern tonight at 6:30.
Charlie, we talked about the top 6 teams in the RPI, the NCAA.com's RPI, which is used by the committee. Top 6 from the SEC, but probably the most respected rankings, D1 baseball. Man, completely different look. 3 of the top 4 non-SEC. Clemson 2, Oregon State 3, Florida State 4, and then North Carolina at 8. So 3 of the top 4, 4 of the top 8. That is a different look than the RPI. So expect maybe a little bit of a blend, but to your point, it's a lot of teams that from here on out, there's a lot to be determined for national seeds and some regionals.
There is, and I give Oregon State, who is ranked higher in that than they are in the RPIs, credit for this is as tough as it is for Washington State, Oregon State and Washington State football and basketball, okay, essentially they've gone out to schedule in the Mountain West, okay. Well, you do
like
that.
Gonzaga last night.
Yeah, you do that in baseball, and you're running the risk of your RPI taking a big hit. They got a top 70 schedule, which as a baseball independent,
that's hard. Yeah.
As a baseball independent, I mean that's really tough to do. So they've scheduled up as much as possible. They've tried to steer into some of the teams out there that do have reasonable RPIs, like Cal Poly and UC Irvine is good again this year. We talked about it yesterday really briefly. Some of the traditional powers out there from yesteryear are no longer. Teams like Cal State Fullerton and Long Beach State are no longer.
Pepperdine, Irvine.
Yeah, no, now Irvine's good this year, but the rest of them.
Santa Barbara.
They're okay.
Yeah, I mean that league used to be as strong as any.
It was, and it no longer. San Diego's another team that's not very good this year that was on their schedule. But I give them credit for doing that. I suspect, knowing Kendall Rogers as I do, he's probably giving them some credit for that too, and I don't think that's a bad thing.
Don't forget our friends at K&M Automotive. It's the only place I take my vehicle. Jason Payne going to give you an honest deal. That's the most important thing. That's what we're looking for. If he's busy, because he's usually is, because he has so much repeat business, he see if he could fit you in at that time. If not, he will schedule a more convenient time for both of you. Your engine light comes on. Bring it on in. We'll see what's going on there. Belts, hoses, general services, undercar services, electronic, AC repair this time of the year, transmission service, electrical services, whatever, tires, brakes, oil change, you name it. Bring it in over to K&M Automotive, 8445 Segan Lane, Segan at Perkins, right across Segan from Ambrosia Bakery. It's the only place to take my vehicle, K&M Automotive, Segan at Perkins.
Live at Mike Anderson's Live at Lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Heading out to Las Vegas, deep in the desert, lives one man. One man of many sports bets. The one and only Andy Isco.
Andy, the NBA delivered last night, so in some of these adjusted series lines right now, our friends down the street at the Queen, the DraftKings outlet, has the Clippers now at a minus 165. Clippers with the third best home record during the course of the season. And keep in mind, Kawhi Leonard closing it out when he has been playing, Charlie, 13-2 to close out the season as well. So they have definitely brought it in the first two games at the Nuggets. And then the Pistons, are they for real? Well, they're leaning for most of these games in games 1 and 2, but still the Knicks minus 250 in that series. Any thoughts on those two in-series prices?
I played the Clippers before the series started against Denver when they were actually a small underdog in the series. So I'm very happy with them accomplishing. Well, they should have. They were easily able to. Just a second here, just trying to merge in the traffic here. But they easily could be up 2-0. But I always look for road teams that I like in the series to go 1-1. You don't want to be in a situation where you're down 0-2 and then you need to win 4 of the next 5, even though 3 of them are at home. If you're the lower seeded team starting a series, you've got to win at least one road game. So the fact that the Clippers were able to do 1-1, I'd like to see them win both games in LA, but I'm happy with where they are because they easily could be 2-0. And Denver made a nice little run last night and never quite got out of hand, but I like that one. As far as the Knicks, I did not play that series. I did play the Pistons in each of the first 2 games with the points. I thought that they were going to win that first one when they're up by 8 after 3 quarters, and then the Knicks go on the 21-0 run. But I expected them to gain confidence from that effort in Game 1 and getting basically the same number of points, although I thought anywhere from 6.5 to 7.5. I expected them to play a good game, give a good effort. Not necessarily expecting them to win because I do think the Knicks will still win the series. As far as the Clippers right now, I can't recommend laying $1.65 for a team that still has to. Well, they've got to win 3 out of the next the next 5, but I just think that's priced a little bit too high compared to where the series was before.
I think it's a little high in my opinion. I think that's worth taking a price on with the Pistons, and man, you get Game 3, and then you can really hedge back to cover your original bet and have a free swing on that one. I think that's the Knicks are public. The Knicks are public. The Pistons are unproven. The Knicks are gaining. They've got a lot of liability on the Knicks to win the East, win the whole thing. Even though they're just a public team. So I think that's what we're dealing with right now. But I just can't. Man, that's those two games, man. If that's any indication, Knicks are in for a tough series. Zigzag worked both last night. So these are the first games 2 that we had, and both the teams that lost games 1 bounced back in 1 and covered, although the Clippers did cover game 1 as well with that last-minute 3 by Powell to make the final 2 instead of 5 to cover the 2.5 or 3 closing line. But tonight it's tested, and they're anticipating some zigzag. Now, Dame Lillard is going to play tonight also, but Indiana, who smoked Milwaukee, is only 4. Oklahoma City, who won by 1,000, is 14.5. And the Lakers, who lost handily, -6. Charlie, they had 17 uncontested threes for the Minnesota Timberwolves. So they knocked down a high percentage of them, but that's the lack of defense they talked about with adding Luka and LeBron. With this particular lineup, that's a lot of open threes for the playoffs.
And LeBron's taken more criticism than he usually does from the national media about his effort on Saturday night, which you usually don't get. Okay, he's a category by himself, of course.
Yes.
But ordinarily you don't see his effort.
Kind of after they kind of fell behind late the second half, or he's kind of saving his energy for.
I don't know. You take your pick, but were they embarrassed the other night?
Well, I didn't read it.
Just better.
I didn't read it. You've heard it, so I mean,
and maybe it's just because Stephen A. screamed it a little bit harder, and he's had his own little personal thing with LeBron. But it's not just him. If it was him, I would say no.
Well,
no, it's
they've
more
got
than just
something
him.
personal going on.
They do. They do. So, but it's more than just him.
What about the zigzags tonight?
I'm not a big believer necessarily in the zigzag. I've got to like the game on its own, and if it happens to fit zigzag, which, by the way, has not been as successful the last 10 years as it had been the previous 20 when everyone started talking about it, and it had some very great success. But if it applies, it applies, but it's not the reason I would make a play on the game. I mean, for example, I did like the Clippers last night for the fact that they basically they played the better ball in the first game. I actually do like the Lakers tonight. I think that maybe they took Minnesota a little bit lightly coming into that game, and Minnesota was playing to show that last year, they really had. Last year, I think, was their best chance at making the NBA Finals with the way they had played down the stretch, and of course they got eliminated prior to the conference finals. So I do like the Lakers tonight. I expect a big effort. We've seen them respond in situations like this throughout the year. Minnesota accomplished what they needed to do, and again, the Lakers are in a position of, and they were basically 2-1 favorites coming into the series. So they're basically in a position of being a 2-1 opening favorite, going down 0-2 and needing to win 4 of the final 5. Now, of course, winning tonight doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to cover, but I look for a good effort, especially in the second half, so that this game does not come down to the final few minutes.
Well, I didn't play the zigzag strictly because it was zigzag last night, but I did have Detroit and the Clippers because they were in position to win. I mean, Detroit was up 8 in the fourth quarter, and I thought their playoff inexperience let it get away. It almost did it again last night, but they were able to do it, and they covered easily, and they won the game outright. And the same thing with the Clippers. Now, last night's game was back and forth, okay? That was a classic. I mean, it was a... I got the right end of that 50-50 game because that was in doubt for most of the game.
The concern I had going into last night was that how would the loss in the previous game, where they couldn't close it out despite having late leads, how would that affect them last night? It wasn't pretty, but they did manage to close it out and get the win in a game that had been tightly contested. So I felt that the Clippers last night answered any questions about whether or not they'd be able to compete in tough games should they have a tough game back home now.
Wow, I mean, that Kawhi Leonard looked like he was 7 years younger. I could tell you that. He was unbelievable. But tonight, the reason I bring it up too, Andy, is because it's a narrative. It's out there, and you've heard it, and some people will do it. And, and I think the lines reflect that tonight. I mean, Indiana's only 4 against Milwaukee. Oklahoma City looks like they could beat them. I mean, we talk about Zach Edey a lot. He's a defensive liability. I mean, that was embarrassing. I mean, his guy shot like 7 of 8 from the field, and, man, they scored at will. And I don't know. I think the Lakers got a little bit more problems than maybe just laying 6. That's a big number for the Lakers to be laying. So I'm zig-zigging tonight. So I'm taking all the teams that covered the first game to continue it against these inflated numbers.
See, I'm looking at it differently. I'm looking at the fact that the Lakers -6 is a line that makes sense. The Indiana line does seem a little too short considering Milwaukee's liabilities that were exposed in that first game, and you have to ask yourself, why is the line so short? Because the public will still be on Milwaukee, and I think that a lot of the sharps will be on Milwaukee as well, expecting them not to go down 0-2. I think it's more likely, and of course Milwaukee's on the road, I think it's more likely of Milwaukee going down 0-2 than the Lakers going down 0-2. As far as only one of the first 8 games of the series were decided by less than 10 points, and that was the overtime game with the Clippers. What we're seeing and what we've seen, the 3 big teams, OKC, Boston, and Cleveland, took care of business and played in their opening games the way that they had demonstrated that they could play for most of the season. I mean, Oklahoma City, I think, set the record, or certainly the last 20 years, for the largest scoring margin, the greatest number of double-digit wins. And obviously they're not 51 points better, but I'm going to be reluctant to go against them, even though a lot of people may start taking a look in the next in the next set of games, the game 2 that remain, that they're going to take a shot on some of those underdogs on the theory that they just did not look so good and they're not as bad as they look, without really taking a look at it as the teams that they're facing maybe are every bit as good as they look.
Overreaction to early results in Major League Baseball. Tell you, Aaron Nola 0-5 now?
Yeah.
Jeez, I mean, it's a roughest start for his career.
Sorry, who's that?
Aaron Nola, former LSU pitcher for the Philadelphia Phillies, yeah.
The 2 pitchers who I've been looking to go against and have been successful this year, Aaron Nola in the National League and former Atlanta Brave Charlie Morton in the American League. Both of those guys seem to be nearing the end of, well, certainly in the case of Nola, an outstanding career. In the case of Charlie Morton, a pretty good career. And they've just been consistently poor in the early start of the seasons. And I think both of them, especially Nola, showed signs of decline throughout a good part of last year. He still had a very good year, put up some good numbers, but he also had more poor efforts than we have been accustomed to seeing in previous years.
And it's kind of his career has gone a little bit in reverse. It's only because he was very young, fresh on the scene when he was right there, finished second or third for the NL Cy Young behind DeGrom and Scherzer. I mean, those guys in their prime, some of the best years they've ever had.
In 2018, the whip for the season was under 1. Yeah, he's only 31 years old. I mean, we think of him maybe as an older player because he's been around. This is 11 seasons
and he's
now.
been very healthy.
Yeah.
Durable, yeah.
He has not missed a start since, I believe, 2016. So
that's unbelievable.
We think of him as a much older. Now, there's a lot of innings. There's a lot of there's a lot of wear and tear on the arm. But he's only 31 years old, so he's off to a rough start. There ain't no doubt about that.
All right, Andy. So and Quintana, the guy, the former Met, he's throwing again tonight. He has been unbelievable so far.
Sorry, I didn't. We're having a weak connection. I didn't quite hear who you're mentioning now.
No, Quintana's on the hill tonight. He's pitching way above his career performance level
Quintana,
as well.
Yeah, exactly. I was. Well, I think we talked about him last week. I was surprised at that first effort he put in for Milwaukee, considering he was signed late in spring training, and he followed up with another very good effort in his second start. I actually did play him today against the Giants.
All right, Andy, let's go follow Andy on Twitter at VegasAndy711. Andy, on the way out, Andy, you got any draft picks? I know you got a smaller menu out in Nevada than we do here.
Yeah, no, I haven't really focused as much on that. Those are all. I'd rather concentrate on games that are going to be decided on talent rather than on general manager's vote.
Yeah, we will have our plate full.
There's only so much time in a day that we can devote to what we do, and I'd like to devote it to things that I feel much more comfortable with, and there's less guesswork.
There you go. Andy, great stuff as always. We'll talk to you next week. Good luck this weekend.
Good luck, guys. Enjoy the draft.
Don't forget our friends at Relief Windows. Relief Windows is a trusted provider of premium windows, doors, siding, and interior shutters based right here in Baton Rouge. Proudly serve homeowners in all of the state of Louisiana, Texas, and Mississippi, delivering quality window replacement, door installation, and custom siding solutions for both existing homes and new construction products. Projects at Relief Windows were dedicated to exceptional craftsmanship and outstanding customer services across the Gulf South. Relief Windows, boy, I sure wish I knew about Relief Windows when we had the original construction of my home, because we had to replace the normal wood windows because they weren't those gelled windows with that guarantee that we have as well. So made to protect against those hurricanes, force winds, and also these deep South Louisiana extreme weather conditions, from snow to extreme heat and all kinds of rains. Relief Windows, call for your consultation today, 288-8138, 288-8138. For a further look at all of our products, go to reliefwindows.com.
Live at Mike Anderson's Live at Lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at Lunch with Ott and Yanni from Mike Anderson Seafood on Lee Drive on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Back here at Mike Anderson's Live at Lunch. If you're looking for a little college baseball tonight, this is one of the more intriguing midweek days of the year. You get this more about this LouisianaSports.net. But in addition to LSU, Northwestern, which Northwestern's a nice team out of the Southland, you got some interesting matchups tonight. Probably headlined by Georgia and Clemson, a top 10 matchup. That game is at Clemson, South Carolina. Clemson up to number 2 in the country. Georgia dropping a little bit to number 10 after the sweep at the hands of Vanderbilt this past weekend. But Georgia Tech, who is a very healthy 14-7 in the ACC, is going to Auburn tonight, number 24 against number 11. Texas is on the road at San Marcos to play Texas State, who beat them earlier this season, so you've got that. Number 19, Louisville, is at Kentucky, another ACC SEC matchup tonight. So you got some definitely some interesting, more so than usual, which you get for a weeknight game. And in the Southeastern Conference, although it is not an SEC game, the Governor's Cup between Ole Miss and Mississippi State is also going on tonight. So, yeah, pretty good menu if you got ESPN Plus to dial around and see some good college baseball tonight. First class, second class, no class is coming up when we return here at Mike Anderson's Wesley at Nicholson Live at Lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
I want a seat in first class where I was booked and ticketed over a month ago.
Second class.
No man should be subjected to the indignity of being labeled or treated like a second-class citizen.
And no class.
Life had become like school on Sunday. No class. I'll tell you what then. Why don't you call me sometime when you have no class?
First class, second class, and no class. Brought to you by Supreme Rice. Buy local with Louisiana-based Supreme Rice since 1936.
And we return here at Mike Anderson's. Wesley at Nicholson, first class, second class, and no class. One of the most decorated athletes to ever come through LSU, and I'm not exaggerating, had a career come to an end on Saturday. Actually last Thursday. They lost in the semifinals. Haley Bryant, I was putting this together this morning. If I tried to list all the things that she has done, it would take me the rest of the show and probably all of Hunt's show. So I'm just going to give you the extreme highlights of, it's arguable, but maybe even not arguable, the most decorated athlete in LSU history for what she did while she was at the school. A 33-time All-American. So, okay, how can you become an All-American 33 times? Yeah. So in gymnastics, I had to go and look this up, and I had to ask for help. Okay, there are regular season All-Americans and there are postseason All-Americans. So and you can win it obviously in all 4 events plus an all-around. So she competed for 5 years. That's there's 10 that you can win conceivably, in any year, and she got the extra year because of the COVID thing. So she could have won 50 national championships. She won 33 of a possible 50 national championships. I mean, you won 2/3 of the amount of All-American honors that you can win. She had 105 individual titles. She had 18 perfect 10s. As a freshman, she won the NCAA championship in the vault. As a senior last year, she won the all-around national championship. And, of course, the team won their first national championship. And she won the all-around at the SEC championships this year, which, given the SEC, is almost as hard as doing an NCAA. She won the AAI award in 2024 for seniors in gymnastics. That's the equivalent of the Heisman. And she did all of this while being on the SEC Academic Honor Roll her entire time at LSU, and she may be headed for a staff position. There's been plenty of great ones come through that school in multitude of sports, but I don't know that anybody has ever accomplished more at the school in their time here than Haley Bryant has. She'll leave having won everything you can win, and a lot of them more than once. So kudos, young lady. That was a hell of a career.
I was at senior night, and it was an emotional send off, and it was really cool. To kind of be a part of that, and kind of the reception after as well, both at the facility and right down the street at Modesto. So that was any senior night. I don't know, Charlie. And then I was even watching on TV when Oklahoma came into Baton Rouge. They had that, and we know about that student. That still is the last 2 national champions. And Allie Raceman, who I had an opportunity to meet on the field prior to the LSU-Wisconsin game at Lambeau Field. And so she was calling the meet. She says, I wish I had a chance to compete in atmospheres like this. So the fan base really showed their appreciation. It was very appropriate to stick around because they did the senior night after. I think that maximized it. Mm-hmm. I think he actually got more people to stick around a little bit later than to show up early for the ceremony. I thought it was as well done, and fan base certainly showed her a little extra appreciation for all of her accomplishments. It's certainly played a big part of that national championship last year.
I got a chance. I was at a meet her freshman year. My knowledge of gymnastics is pretty limited, okay? I know when they don't stumble and fall. I know when it looks like it's perfect. She stood out even to a novice gymnastics observer like me in that meet where there were plenty of stars that night, and it was like, who's the freshman? And it's like, oh, that's Haley Bryant. It's like, wow, okay? I mean, even to somebody who, like I said, does a very novice gymnastics observer, it was a wow, and it was a wow from pretty much the day she hit campus all the way through. And I hope she does stick around. What a credit to the university if she does end up being a part of that staff and continue to be a part of LSU. Haley Bryant, first class. Second class, good with a chance to be great. Okay. I think 6 LSU football players will have their names called over the course of this draft. Could be more, but I think these 6 are a lock to be drafted somewhere. Will Campbell, who is, I'm going to give you the NFL Network rankings on these guys, just kind of give you an idea, has a ranking of 5. I think we've got some pretty good information that, Will Campbell could be off the board at number 4 to the New England
He's
Patriots.
overwhelming favorite
Right now, and it would fill a need. That's where he fits. If he doesn't come off the board at 4, it ain't going to be much longer than that. Mason Taylor with a 44 grade, which would suggest sometime in the early to mid part of the second round. Braden Swinson with a grade of a rank of 65, and Emory Jones with a rank of 68. Both there up at the end of the second round or the beginning of the third round. And then Savion Jones and Zy Alexander, both with third-day grades, should come off the board sometime on Saturday. Could be others. Wouldn't rule out Josh Williams being drafted in the 7th round because of his special teams acumen, and plus, boy, at Pro Day, man, did he look like $1 million. But those 6, I'm pretty sure, are going to be drafted. So Good with a chance to be great. Good luck to all of them. I hope they end up in good situations with franchises that have good plans for them. But Good with a chance to be great. The LSU draft class. What do you?
I got a great with a chance to be good.
Okay.
The games last night in the NBA were great, but I just wanted to be good. You can't sustain that with some of the matchups we have. I'm being realistic, but just give us a little something. We don't know. We don't know where it's coming. Maybe Milwaukee can make a game of it. Maybe Miami can push the Cleveland. No shot for Orlando against Boston. But you know what? There'll be a lot of eyes on the Lakers, Minnesota tonight to see if they can perform as well.
Yeah, but could you imagine if the Lakers lose tonight? I mean, and go down 2-0 and going back to Minnesota?
Well, they may take back Pelinka's award. They may cut the parade short, with J.J. Redick as Coach of the Year. A little premature on a lot of this stuff.
I understand.
But Nico was good.
Man, I came this guy. Somebody edged him out for no class this week, but for him to get up there and say, "I didn't realize how attached the Dallas
weeks
fan
to
base
think about
was,"
it. And
you want to talk about not being able to read the room. You live in Dallas, and you went to the finals last year. You did it on his back. He's as beloved as anybody that's come through there outside
he's
of
certainly
Nowitzki.
an entertaining style of play.
Yeah, and
even to where he might give up a little bit on the defensive end, but when you talk about we don't know for 45 minutes, how pissed are you buy your tickets, whether you take your family, your kid, or just you and your buddies, and you go and he's not playing
right
for the Maverick team.
Come on,
And
there was they embraced a foreign player. Okay, Dallas is football country, but the Mavericks have a foothold in that market. And Dirk Nowitzki, for years, was the face of that franchise. Won a championship, won an MVP. His last year was Luka's first, kind of a passing of the torch, and Luka almost replicated. He got him to the finals.
It took Dirk a long time.
It did, and he's a young guy, and you couldn't read the room. To bring in an Anthony Davis, who's still playing at a very high level, but is always, one pulled whatever away from missing a month or two.
And he did.
It took him 3 quarters, to pull something and miss, the next 3 weeks or whatever it was. So, it's a bad week for Nikos, okay, between him and the Tennessee quarterback, and that's where I'm going for no class. It's not Nico. Now it's Madden Ayamaleva, okay, now expected to join his brother Nico at UCLA. Now, tell me this is not the kind of commitment that you want from your players. Madden, the younger, was committed to UCLA for a long time. He committed to him all the way back in May of 2024. But he opted out of that before the start of the early signing period, and he flipped to Arkansas on December the 4th, okay? He was at Arkansas for all of 3.5 months before he said, no, he enrolled early, went through spring practice. No. I think now I'm going to go to UCLA. Maybe this has happened and I just don't know about it, but a guy signing and getting in the transfer portal before you even got to fall practice. This is twice. But this shouldn't be any kind of surprise, okay? Because he didn't play his senior season of high school. And do you know why? Because he transferred from Warren High School to Long Beach Polytechnic and was declared ineligible after he moved, okay? I mean, this is just like Victorious Miller. He played for 4 high schools in 4 years, and he'll be on 2 colleges in 2 years in basketball. This is what you want if you're UCLA? I mean, these are talented kids, okay? They've got some, they've got some ability. But this kid has now played for 2 high schools and 2 colleges, and he's not even through his freshman, he's not even through his senior year of high school, really. I mean, because he was an early enrollee. And I don't think I got to go through what Nico did
so
again.
He's 2 or 3 years behind Nico.
Nico would have – this kid is technically
I think
supposed
Nico
to be
was
a freshman in 25, and Nico was a freshman – in 24, so
well, the 24 New Year's Day against Iowa.
Yeah.
He had this first start that bowl game against Iowa the same day LSU played Wisconsin. So that was January 1, 24.
Okay.
It was 2 seasons. It was last year was his first year starting.
Yeah, but he played in the 23 season in that game you're talking about. That's on the 23 season. Right.
Sparingly.
So I guess he's 2 calendar years behind him in age. But
yeah.
Just how would you feel if those 2 kids were coming into your school?
Well, UCLA, I would be excited because you're a non-player.
Yeah.
You can't get.
You have to do more. You have to try to make a splash.
You need an angle. You need some things to fall your way. These are local guys that are coming back home. I know some people like Rick Neuheisel thinks that they might give them an en route to the Samoan community, and they need any type of momentum they can get. They are one of the weaker Power 4 programs in college football. I mean, they've always been a non-player with the finances, and now the finances are more important. And their finances, okay, they're getting some more money, but how much more money is coming out the athletic department for travel alone? It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So it's they're in a tough spot. How many are in the Power 4 now, roughly?
68? No, it's more than that after they added to the Big 12. I think it's 70.
Okay, say roughly
but
70.
Yeah, right in there.
They're in the 50 to 70.
And it's such a brand name that that's
surprising. Well, they used to be.
Yeah, but you're
you
right.
dig into their history, Charlie. Yeah. I mean, they were
in football. It was a limited amount of success. Terry Donahue's run was the best probably, but yeah, it's limited. The basketball overshadowed everything there for so long. But yeah, you're right.
And it's double. I mean, people generally speaking are moving out of California because of the taxes into a place like Texas or whatever businesses are. But you're going to try and tell a coach to come in here, a college football coach. I mean, the weather is great. Man, the traffic and the taxes, and you're not paying this a whole lot as well. How can you compete?
Yeah, there was a coach that coached there and coached here, and I'm blanking on his name right now. He was an assistant football coach.
Chip Kelly's got the hell out of there.
The one that got in trouble with the lineman from Canada. Anyway, I'm blanking on his name right now. I'll think of it in a second. But anyway, he talked to us about. He says, "Man, look, I lived an hour away from campus.
That's a short drive,
right? Well, think for a football coach and how much time you spend at the office. If you got to spend 2 hours a day in a commute, and that was because of the affordability. Now this over here. You're on the LSU staff. Live where you want. Okay, I mean, you pick out your favorite
10,
expensive
15 minutes away, max.
Yeah, whatever you're going to do. You ever had a point in your life where when somebody called you just dreaded it? Somebody you worked for, somebody you worked with, somebody you were dating, so whatever. Just whenever you look down and that person's on the phone, you just go, "Oh man." That's how they're going to have to feel. Deshaun Foster, the head coach, is going to have to feel every time he looks down and sees the dad calling.
Charlie,
it's like, what do you want?
Is there a chance these guys can be good?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I mean, until a week ago, Tennessee, what was their fan base's thought? They thought he had a chance to be good. Is there a chance he could have been pretty? Look, he wasn't good this past year, but we've seen a lot of first-year quarterbacks improve.
Sure.
Okay, this was.
If I'm a Tennessee fan, I think we got to the playoffs with him playing just so last year. Well, they made it.
Come on, man. It was in spite of him.
Well,
it was
that's
despite
what I'm saying.
him.
Okay, so if he gets better, if you got into the playoffs with him playing like that, if he gets better, then
that running game and defense is way better than it's been in a long time. And Heupel showed you. But you know what? That might, as a first-year starter, that might have been an approach. Certainly, he was going to expand upon it. How much he could expand upon it based on his development, I don't know. But I could tell you this: how are you going to develop? We could develop not showing up for practice?
No.
Not showing up for workouts?
No.
Not being committed in the off season?
Entitled. Okay.
But
yes.
how you cannot get better.
No, you can't.
Without the work, especially a guy who needs, and he might be able to put the work in and still not get better. There's no guarantee when you're watching him in his lack of accuracy and with his arm. He's got size and he can run, no doubt about it. Okay, but so the coach. Part of being a teammate is he ain't developing. So Heupel probably think he ain't getting any better anyway. Or he's very limited on how much he's getting better.
My prediction is that Deshaun Foster will age twice as fast with these two kids on campus. They make
He's got to take his chances, Charlie.
I don't disagree. I'm just saying it's going to come at a cost. No pun intended. They're
getting him on the cheap.
They're going to be a pain in the ass. Yeah, whatever they're getting today, but you don't think they're going to settle for that, right?
You want to take – they
want to renegotiate as they go.
What did UCLA do this past year?
6-6, I think. Is that right?
What are they? They're not preseason ranked this year.
Probably not. No.
They'll probably be. Well, now with him coming in, they might be up there. But I mean, more. But
they were 5-7 last year. 5-7. So yes, you do have to take that. I mean, that chance. I get why. I'm just saying it's going to come at
LSU basketball. You don't want a couple of headache brothers that can play? Maybe that maybe can play.
Sure.
Okay.
I get it. I'm just saying, for Deshaun Foster, it's going to cost him years off of his life to coach these two kids. That's my opinion.
It gives them a chance.
It does. You're right. If you don't get the talent, you're going to get fired anyway.
I'd rather have a chance and deal with it. And there is a chance that they're coming home that they could be a little bit more humbled.
No,
really.
I doubt it.
Okay.
I doubt it. I would be surprised. I'm glad this is somebody else's headache. Put it that way. I'd rather they not be at the school that I cover.
So what LSU's had headaches. They're not void of headaches.
No, they're not.
In their history.
No school that competes at this level is. I mean, this is
But LSU's got more resources and expectations. They got more things in place where they're going to put out a more consistently a better product than UCLA. Look at something like LSU basketball.
Yeah, no, I get it. More of the headaches developed here than they came as headaches, okay? Tyrann Mathieu, I don't think, showed up here as a headache, but he became a headache. And the same thing with Ryan Perrilloux. They became headaches when they got here. They didn't come with this much additional baggage the day they got to campus.
Since Woody inherited Will Wade, can we say that Tate was in place? Was Will Wade a headache for Tate?
At the end, at the end they were a headache, yeah. But when they got here,
was it worth the headache?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
These guys might be worth the headache for UCLA.
We'll see.
Look, everybody's applauding Heupel. Everybody's beating up the kids. Man, Deshaun Foster is beggars can't be choosy, and they have no budget.
And
Charlie.
if Tennessee goes 8-4 this year, they won't be applauding Heupel. They'll be saying, "Well, we didn't have a quarterback."
If they go 6-6, and this guy that comes in, I mean, if it's 7 or 5, even,
I know nobody here gave Les Miles any credit when all those pick sixes were going in 2008. All they said was you ran Perrilloux off.
Yeah, you remember? I thought it was you thought he was applauded when they ran him off?
a lot of people said they understood because Perilou had.
It was a
gone through multiple
series of
changes.
things. It wasn't just an isolated incident.
And they
We
did
know
it,
that.
and they ran him off in the spring when everybody wasn't in football mode. And it was like, yeah, you know what? I guess Miles did what he had to do. But by the time September and October rolled around, it was you ran off our quarterback, and it's pick sixes left and right.
Yeah.
We're brought to you by Supreme Rice, bringing you first class, second class, no class. Try the new parboiled rice. I guess it's not really new anymore. We've had it for a while there. But Jimmy, this is your favorite.
My favorite
to cook with the parboiled rice. Absolutely clean and to perfection.
It's really good, man. So when you've tried to get that, you go to a restaurant, man, the rice, like here at Mike Anderson's, man, the rice is perfect every time they come out. And I said, well, how do you keep doing it? I keep trying to, boil mine, maybe rinse it with cold water to firm it up after long grain rice, medium grain rice, whatever I did, it just couldn't get it till I got the Supreme Rice parboiled rice. And it does have less residue when you rinse it off. It is firmer. It is like that restaurant style, restaurant quality rice. So it is wonderful stuff. I'll never use another rice again. Try the parboiled rice from Supreme Rice right down the street at Rouse's. That's where I go to get my groceries, and that's where you can pick up the parboiled rice as well. And wherever you pick up your Supreme Rice, it's available wherever you normally see the Supreme Rice products.
And the Climate Smart program, ensuring future generations of Louisiana farmers will take advantage of those things. They're reducing methane emissions and promoting water conservation. For more information and great recipes, go to supremerice.com. The odds shaken up in the NFL draft, giving us an indication of what may happen on Thursday night. We'll talk about that and as it relates to the Saints next here. Live at lunch from Mike Anderson's 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Ott and Yanni from Mike Anderson Seafood on Lee Drive on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Join us Thursday night at Don Juan's Cigar Bar. We'll be there for our annual draft party. Jimmy and I will be part of the group that'll be doing our
always a good
online,
time, man.
our online broadcast. And the Saints come off the board at number 9, but increasingly there is chatter about a team, New Orleans, Cleveland, Giants, trading back into the first round if they don't take a quarterback up at the top, that they could come back in and get a Shedeur Sanders or a Jackson Dart later on in the first round. 33rd team puts out they did a consensus mock of all of the mocks that they got. They have Shedeur Sanders as the most likely to New Orleans. Now, the odds tell us something a little bit different, Jimmy, although it is very, very bunched up when it comes to Shedeur Sanders and the Saints. 3 weeks ago, the Saints were the favorites to take Shedeur Sanders. Now that is the Steelers at plus 310. The Giants, Browns, and Saints, though, are all very, very close. Plus 350 for the Giants, plus 360 for the Browns, plus 370 for the Saints. So this is pretty close to a wash when it comes to the odds right now on where Shedeur Sanders.
I think it's going to shift even more away from the Saints. And maybe more toward the Steelers. So, I mean, that is rare where you get, 4 teams that are the odds are that tight. I mean, that is really, really tight. But I just think that's kind of the crossroad where we were. When people started to connect the dots, okay, Derek Carr, he may be out for the year. We talked about how they got a lot of national run as well.
Yeah.
It wasn't just local. And so everybody, you wanted to know what, the inner workings of the front office, and how does this happen? How does it divulge at this point? How does, and if it in fact happened, but everybody where they're draft happy right now. Well, they need a quarterback, and it was a lot of lazy connecting the dots. Like it made Shedeur Sanders even money to go to the Saints, and it was like plus 550. I think was the next one to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Is Tomlin under pressure? Maybe
a little bit.
Maybe.
Yeah.
You can't go that long without winning a playoff game with that organization. That organization puts you in position. He's responsible for putting him in position as well. But are you ready to go with what they have? I mean, all right, let me ask you another question. Is Omar Khan, the general manager, Tulane grad, capologist with the Steelers, forever turned their GM, GM about 3 years, maybe 4?
Yeah, 2,
something
3.
like that. Is he going to pay Metcalf all that money and have and Rudolph throw to him?
No. I think
so. There's some pressure for them to bring in a quarterback. He could be scooped up at 21 or even moved up to take him.
He said today, he says, we're going to go to camp with 4 quarterbacks. We have 2 on the roster right now. So, yes, they're bringing in somebody.
Oh, Mark Kahn said that?
Yeah. And they've been waiting on Aaron Rodgers, I think. I don't expect to hear anything from Rodgers between now and Thursday. So if you're putting all your eggs in the Aaron Rodgers basket, could you make a trade for Kirk Cousins?
His appearance this week has been canceled. They're covering WrestleMania. So,
did you see McAfee get beat up last night?
He got beat up.
Well, it's fake beat up, but the wrestling thing, I
it's
saw it on
fake,
Twitter.
Charlie.
I know. I saw it on Twitter this morning. It was kind of funny. It's kind of funny. This big giant wrestler just he put McAfee to sleep. He put him in the sleeper hole or whatever, and they made a big show out of it.
It's where we are. It's
sure.
fake.
Well, you asked yesterday. What's McAfee doing with all the wrestlers? Well, he was on wrestling last night. I saw it on Twitter.
I pass.
If Pittsburgh doesn't get Aaron Rodgers, then you got to get into the quarterback market. You could get Kirk Cousins out of Atlanta if you pick up some of the freight. That would be one possibility for them. And you can, or you could draft a guy at 21. Sanders, Dart, Tyler Shug out of Louisville's getting an awful lot of love these days, although I think he's more of a second-round guy. Trading back into the first round for a quarterback or anything else for New Orleans is 3 primary spots that you would look at there. Minnesota at 24 because they've only got 4 picks, and they would be looking to add draft capital. Washington at 29, who's expressed a desire to accumulate more picks, and the Eagles at 32 because there's a history between Howie Roseman and Mickey Loomis. They've done a number of deals over the years.
He quit answering his phone.
Well,
they get over on us every time.
Yeah,
he picks up the phone.
You know how I say your phone rings and you don't want to answer it. Every time Howie Roseman looks down and sees Mickey Loomis, he's like, "Give me the phone."
If you had ownership that you kind of knew what was going on, you're not allowed to do deals with this guy anymore.
Yeah.
Period.
Right.
I mean, just say he's going to work you over every time. You're not allowed.
Did you watch Cheers when it came out?
Watch what?
Cheers, the show about the bar.
Charlie.
Yeah.
I mean, it was kind of part of Americana. I mean,
okay.
I'm closer age.
You remember,
I'm 5 years older than you.
You remember,
you long-suffering Saints fan for that first playoff win.
You remember Harry the Hat? Harry Anderson, he was the con.
Yes.
Okay, Howie Roseman's Harry the Hat. Okay?
Yes. He's quit doing deals with him.
Right. Just stop.
I had a side bet with Randy McKay at the LSU-USC game. I got smoked.
Right.
Well, lesson learned.
Don't do that.
I'm not making side bets.
Harry the Hat would come in and Cliff and Norm would just hand their money over. It's like, oh, come on, Harry the Hat's going to get me. So don't do deals with Philadelphia. But those would be the primary spots to get in. Also, Mason Graham's odds to go in the top 5 are dropping a little bit, which would be music to my ears because if I could have anybody in this draft for New Orleans, Mason Graham out of Michigan would be the guy that I would take. You got to get him by Jacksonville.
Jacksonville's going to pass up. Keep in mind, some of these franchises, you passed up Hutchinson last time.
Mm-hmm.
How'd that work out? You passed up the better guy, the better player.
Walker has not been a bad player, but he has not been Hutchinson.
He ain't him.
No, he's not. They picked the wrong guy.
You're going to pass up the highest rated defensive lineman from Michigan again?
They could.
They're one of those teams. There's one of those 12 that are poorly run. But, I would find that there's sometimes history affects, right or wrong, affects what you do.
Ashton Genty is tempting for them because they need another playmaker on offense, and they would hope, if they did that, to take some of the pressure off of Trevor Lawrence. They got a bunch of money in Trevor Lawrence.
They want to try and put some pieces around.
Yes.
It's time to. We're trying to figure out if he's he's the franchise quarterback. And that's crazy for a guy that's been around this long.
They've already paid for him, so try to help him.
Yes. No, they're committed. And I would have too. I
would
mean, he's
too,
got
yes.
a chance, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's got more of a. Would you take a chance with Trevor Lawrence or Shedeur Sanders?
Well, how much different do you feel about Trevor Lawrence now than you did last year at this time? I mean, last year at this time, they were coming off of a playoff win. They looked to have some momentum, and he just had a bad year. Okay, I don't expect it to continue. I think he's better than that. But he's
a
coming
couple
off.
of years ago they had the playoff.
Is it 2 years ago now?
Yeah.
That comeback win over the Chargers, that was 2 seasons ago? Yeah. It all runs together, Jimmy. You know, I'm along.
Because remember, Mahomes won it hurt.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah, that's right.
He got knocked out of that Chiefs game. They could have beat him there, the divisional round.
Yeah.
That was a couple of years ago.
That's right. I would love it if Graham got to the Saints. That's a possibility. Also, one more thing on this: the odds that there will be only one quarterback taken.
I already took no, not one. I took under 2.5.
Okay, so here it is. Over 2.5 quarterbacks drafted in the first round has dropped from minus 500 to minus 135. Todd McShay's among those that's putting out that there is more likely to be one quarterback drafted in the first round than 3 quarterbacks drafted in the first round. And there's a little bit of scuttlebutt around Mikael Williams, the edge from Georgia, and the Saints. If they do go offensive or defensive lineman, he's one of the names that is in place. He is 12-1 to go to New Orleans. Just one of the players on the Saints board at number 9.
So that was a 2023 season. 2023 playoff game. That was 3 years ago, Charlie.
22. Okay, wow. All right.
Then wait. No. This was 20. Geez, the year's right. It was 2 seasons ago. Two playoffs ago.
Okay.
Yeah. 2023 playoffs, not the 2023. Maybe you had the 2023 season. I don't know. All I know is I just said I called DJ last night and said make sure you include Charlie in your prayers for long-suffering Saints fans. It took him 30 years old to see a playoff win.
I did. Some people longer than that. I know some of them pretty well.
Don't forget our friends at Total Maintenance. Looking forward to Don Juan's on Thursday night. Come on by and see us. So the coverage starts at 7 o'clock. We'll be there a little earlier than that. Total Maintenance, I called them for my inspection. That's right, for my normally $179 deal. I got them in. I called them at 480-1000. They came in, friendly staff, friendly technician, and called when they said he is on his way, and he was there a couple of 10 minutes after, and he went to work, very polite, had to get in the attic, do that stuff, and got on the sides, and man just showed me the before and after pictures, and you would not believe how much cleaner, how my unit can operate more efficiently now. I had to adjust the temperature a couple of degrees because it was cooling that much more than it was at the previous setting. So it's real simple. It's going to save you on your monthly bills. It's going to the biggest thing is probably prevent you from some much more inconvenient and costly breakdowns when we really stress these things. And we're about to get it. It's high 80s this week, so it's getting hot over here, and now's the time to do it before it breaks down and costs you more money. Normally $179, it's just $79. Get it collected. Lower monthly bills. Going to extend the lifetime of your unit. Avoid more costly repairs and more inconvenient times. Call Total Maintenance 480-1000. Tell them you heard it right here. Charlie, Jimmy, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Normally $179, just $79. You tell them you heard it right here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live from Mike Anderson's 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Ott and Yanni from Mike Anderson Seafood on Lee Drive on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Also brought to you in part today by the Thibodaux Store, 900 St. Patrick Highway in Thibodaux. Getting the yard in shape right now. Big discounts on the website at doitbest.com/Thibodaux Store. 40% off on lots of your hoses, all of your fertilizer, your weed killer, your turf builders. Save up to 25% on Jonathan Green lawn care right now. Your outdoor power equipment, spreaders and seeders, potting and topsoil, all of it available right now at doitbest.com/Thibodeau store. And a huge amount of Cajun cookware, especially cookware shipped right to your door. Again, doitbest.com/Thibodeau store, 900 St. Patrick Highway in Thibodeau. Also save on your grills. Huge selection of grills, including the big green egg cookers, available at the Thibodeau store. You're looking for lumber, comes out of their sister property at the Pierre Part store down in Pierre Part. Ask you a question.
And look, go to Thibodeau with AUX, not an E.
That's
on,
right.
on the website, ThibodeauStore.com or PierrePartsStore.com, and you could take a look at all of the Cajun cookware that they have. It's unbelievable, man. It's really good stuff.
If Garrett Nussmeier were in this draft, where would he be?
Saints, maybe higher.
You think he would be higher than the
I think
other
the
three
Giants-
quarterbacks besides Cam
Now,
Ward?
let me say this. Wait, hold on. I'm afraid. Nussmeier with another year starting.
No, if he had declared for this draft.
1 year starting, that would be a little trickier.
That's why it's not a cut and dried answer, I don't think, and I find myself struggling with it too.
I mean, he could go as high as 3 to the Giants. He's got all the tools, man. He's got size. I mean, he could sling it, man. But he needs some seasoning.
Yeah.
He needs some polish.
I think he did the right thing coming back for sure.
Without a doubt.
But
I'm not being selfish because I want to see LSU win football games.
Somebody asked me this yesterday, and I said, my best guess is that if he were in this draft, he would be mentioned in that same group with Shedeur Sanders and Jackson Dart, being that he could go as high as the top 10. He could go as low as the top 8 picks of the second round. And I think, look, if Shedeur Sanders goes to the New York Giants, I'll be surprised. But not completely shocked, okay? I'll be a little bit surprised. But if Shedeur Sanders goes in the top 10 or 12, somebody trades up for him, I'm not going to be shocked. But I'm also not going to be shocked if he falls into the second round. And the same thing with Jackson Dart. If the Saints take Jackson Dart at number 9, I'll be a little bit surprised, but I can't rule that out. And
say Dart goes in second round, early second round, the Giants take him there. Russell Wilson's still starting.
Yes.
I mean, these guys are fighting for their jobs.
Sure.
I mean, who gives them a better chance to win games this year?
Yeah, absolutely.
Come on, man.
Russell Wilson does.
I mean, the same thing with Sanders. So, I mean, and I think the history of the Giants, too, who's the best player to ever come down through the organization?
Lawrence Taylor.
Okay, well, this guy from Penn State, I mean, he's got a chance to be really good. These two, he and Hunter are supposed to be the two blue chippers, and everybody else, we got some concerns. I mean, those are supposed to be the most surefire things, would you say?
Yes.
Fair to say, right?
They will come.
I just
the Browns and Giants are fielding calls right now, but it's for those two players.
Russell Wilson's not going to win you a Super Bowl, but he may be enough to save their job.
Right.
I mean, Shedeur Sanders, with his limitations,
any rookie quarterback, really.
Well, and using that third pick.
Yeah.
No, they need. I mean, Jackson Dart or another quarterback of the ones that we mentioned. So I think I know it's a range, but real definitive on this range, though. He would be 3 to 21. He would not get past Pittsburgh at 21. There's no way they would let him go because he's got a chance, and he would be attempting. The biggest thing that would hurt him is 1 year starting.
1 year starter.
He's got some seasoning to do, man.
You can pick out the good and the bad with Garrett Nussmeier last year. There was plenty. He finished the season very strong. What did Lombardi tell us that day he was on? He says, I don't want to watch, the pre-conference games as much as I want to watch what happens when you play Alabama.
Absolutely.
Okay, so you can take a look at the games, Oklahoma in the bowl game, whatever, where Nussmeier played really well. Or some games early in the season, even against non-conference, they played really well. Then you'd have to go look at A&M and Alabama, where he played really poorly.
Right.
Okay, so there's plenty of both, and hence the range.
With your second year, with another year starting, because
Yeah.
that's the biggest jump you make is from year 1 to year 2 and starting, he should be more consistent.
I expect him to be a top 10 pick in next year's draft. In this draft, I don't know.
Yes.
It's a tougher question.
Who are the quarterbacks that are coming out? Well, you don't know if Arch is coming out. We don't think so. But
Lenore Sellers will be pretty high up the draft boards next year.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You got him that high, huh?
I think
he's got the
potential to be a first round. Yeah, he's got to go out. He's got to go play. But yeah, Arch, Nussmeier, and Lenore Sellers are the top 3 names that I see in most of those things. I don't know about the fourth guy. As far as that.
Don't forget our friends at Workbox. Workbox services movable storage needs, commercial or residential, shipping containers, custom storage containers, all different sizes. Come with, most come with just one standard size, not Workbox, anywhere from 8 by 8 feet to 8 by 40 feet. You want a tool storage container for a job site, custom lunchroom, welders, plumbers. We can customize a work site for them. Custom safety storage near the plant, custom part offers, part storage, climate control, shelving, lighting, wooden, metal, customize exactly to your needs, to your preferences. We also have the home box for residential moving storage. That's always really convenient. Do it at your own pace instead of all at once when you're just moving a moving truck. Again, Workbox Services 343-4886 and WorkboxLLC.com.
Drew Allure. It'd be Allure from Penn State be the fourth guy up there at the top. Just telling you. Live at lunch from Mike Anderson's 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Ott and Yanni from Mike Anderson Seafood on Lee Drive on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Pelicans introducing Joe Dumars right now. That press conference starting up. I hope he's got the power of healing. Okay, executive vice president is his title. Just get him out there on the floor and get him healthy. We'll be able to talk about what he's saying. That press conference is just about. In fact, I think they're starting as we speak.
Those Shador things just widening gradually. Steelers now plus 270. A little bit of a gap between them and the Giants. Cleveland third, and then the Saints drifting in their fourth position.
I think we're both hearing the same thing. That Sanders probably will not be a Saint. You hearing that?
I heard he wasn't.
Wasn't. That's what it's not.
Well, you don't know, but no, I heard he
It's a lot of disinformation, but no, I don't think he will be. I'm gonna try one of the new appetizer features here at Mike Anderson's new Boudin egg rolls with pepper jack cheese, and Tabasco pepper jelly for dipping.
There you
Pretty
go.
good, yeah. Tomorrow at Roca Pizzeria. For Jimmy and Jordan, I'm Charles Hanniger saying thank you and good afternoon. Stay tuned for the Hunt Palmer Show with Taylor Sharp, guest hosting on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.